yat sukhana param sukham yajnana param jnanam tad brahmetyavadharayet yallabhana paro labho yat sukhana param sukham yajnana param jnanam tad brahmetyavadharayet. Now this is the second last topic of the chapter, verses 54 to 64. He talks about the nature of Brahman. What is the nature of that reality, nature of the consciousness? So you can call it the nature of Brahman, 54 to 64. Now here he says, realize that Brahman, beyond its attainment, no greater attainment. Beyond its bliss, there is no greater bliss. Beyond its knowledge, there is no greater knowledge. So once you realize that Brahman, you will realize the attainment, there is no greater attainment. There is no greater bliss. There is no greater knowledge. Now, even though the language seems very simple, the text, the verse here is using a technique called as tatastha lakshanam. I shall write it out so that you get the actual word. Tatastha lakshana. Now the term tatastha lakshana means you are describing the and as something unknown by a known factors. You're describing something unknown with known factors. So here Brahman is being described using the terms of labham, attainment, sukham, bliss, and jnanam, knowledge. So the three terms are used to explain the unknown. What is unknown here, Badriji?
This Brahman.
The unknown is Brahman.
Yeah.
And what is known here?
The factors of bliss, attainment, and knowledge. Jnana. Yeah.
Jnana. Labham, attainment, sukham, bliss, and jnanam, knowledge. Yeah. Now, what is further qualification to the tatastha lakshanam? I just wanted to check whether you are concentrating or not. So you pass the test with 10% marks, sir.
Further thing is that you're saying you're putting a comparative thing to terrestrial interactions with the same factors. In the terrestrial world, you have attainments, you have joy, and you have knowledge. What this is saying on a comparative basis, in the transcendental realm, you're talking about an attainment far greater than anything you have ever achieved terrestrially, a joy far greater than anything you have experienced terrestrially, and knowledge which is greater than anything you've attained terrestrially.
Correct. Correct. So it is using the, how do you describe something unknown?
Right.
It is only through what is known to you, isn't it?
Correct. To your
So what
terrestrial
is it?
experiences. Yeah.
And what are the three things can be classified under what categories?
I think we said attainment, joy. Also, in the terrestrial world, there's nothing like bliss. So you have to scale it down to joy. So you're talking
No,
about
no,
attainment, joy.
yeah. No. In fact, we are using the terms, isn't it?
Right.
The terms he uses is sukham, which is bliss. You may interpret it differently.
Right.
But when you say attainment, bliss, and knowledge, are talking about your physical, mental, intellectual experiences.
Right. Right. That's right. Yes.
Whatever you've got achieved. Oh, I have achieved so much of wealth and name and power and position. You know, who am I? You know, what is my reach? You know, how much power have I got? You will realize that Brahman is far greater attainment than all that you attained in this world, man. All your physical, tangible attainment is nothing, isn't it?
Right.
Beyond its attainment, there is no greater attainment. Means everything else dwarfs.
Right.
In front of this, isn't it?
So don't, in a sense, the message is don't equate what you have experienced so far with what the sages who have attained Brahman have experienced. Anything that you've experienced, whether through your body, mind, or intellect, okay, pales into insignificance when you
compare it to
what the sages who have attained Brahman have experienced.
Correct. Absolutely. Right. Thank you, Ji. Thank you. So the attainment refers to the physical. All the joys, the bliss refers to the emotional, and all the degrees or all the intellectual knowledge and doctorates and postgraduates. You know, you could have done research. You could be a research scholar. You could be a doctorate. You could be you could be multi-talented, multilingual, travel the world, you conquered the intellectual platforms. You are a well-known, highly regarded. He says all of that. Beyond its knowledge, there is no greater knowledge. Now, what you need to understand that the definition of Tatastha Lakshanam is incomplete. Initially, we said Tatastha Lakshanam is you are describing an unknown object with a Vasantama. What definition we gave, Ma? Tatastha Lakshanam is you are describing
known with an describing the unknown object with a known.
You're describing something unknown with something known. Yeah. Now, further qualification to the definition is you are describing the unknown permanent object with an known impermanent factors. So this is the complete definition of the methodology or technique to communicate something. The Tatastha Lakshanam is a technique you use to communicate something permanent factor or permanent object using known impermanent factors. So all the knowledge I have, all the joy or bliss or happiness I've derived, all that I've accumulated is impermanent, temporary. And this gives a beautiful qualification to the pun is on that which is permanent, Brahman. So you shift your focus from the impermanent to the permanent, isn't it? But Without the known, how can you get to the unknown? You cannot. See, it's something like, you got to imagine, nowadays you have this gated communities where you have these houses all built exactly the same, with all symmetrical features, everything looked the same. And if you were to stand from a distance, you see all of them have to be painted in a particular color. You can't go about painting your house in a different way. No, nothing doing. Everything has to be painted in that way only. You can't do any renovation. You can't mount anything. And if you were to point a particular house from a distance, you want to show your house from a distance to your friend, how would you show? All of them look alike. You can't say one of the houses is my house. You can't say that, no. How can you say? How do you point out your house in a row of houses which all look the same, using the methodology of Tatastha Lakshana? I'll have to ask Vijayaraghavanji. How would you point your house using the methodology of Tatastha Lakshana? Don't tell me I will take him to my house and...
No. Pranam Guruji, I was late.
No problem.
House in front of
But
which
you
blue car
follow the
is...
context?
Yes. House in front of which there is a blue car. The blue car will go away anytime, but I can identify through the car.
You can say so. I was about to say I don't have a blue car. So yeah, you're right. The car is the impermanent, but that which is the permanent is the house. So the car which is parked right in front of the house, you say that house, that is exactly the house, Or you can also say, the crow or the bird that's perched on that roof, that is the house. Oh, that is a house. Okay, so nice. You caught in the very strategically located, huh? Okay. Next time when you come, you would enter the house wherever the bird is perched. Huh? Would that be the conclusion? Oh, this is my friend's house. Where is my friend's house? Oh, he told wherever that the bird was sitting, that is the house. So I can't enter the house and say that is the house. It is our stupidity, that is. If I were to approach Brahman with our limited knowledge, it's like I'm reminded of the poem, The Six Blind Men of Hindustan. I'm sure you all have read that poem. The six blind men, each were given an elephant and each were told to describe what the elephant was. And each held or touched upon one part of that giant elephant, and each one came to a conclusion and said, this is what I think the elephant is. One said the elephant is like a trunk because he held the leg of the elephant. Other fellow held the tail. He said elephant is like a snake or rope, and so on and so forth. And then the pun is on the author, a Western author. I don't know who said that, who wrote that, but the poet says the six men of Hindustan. So he's having a dig at our Indians. Each one is giving their description of what the truth is from their limited point of view, thinking that is God. You get what I'm saying? So we're all blindfolded. We do not see what the reality is beyond our limited vision, but we blow up our limited understanding to the absolute and say that God, that is God. Is like as stupid as I deciding which is the house of my friend based on where the bird is perched is stupid. It's just a means. But what you gather is the limitations of our experiences. isn't it? Because all that we experience here, the moment you realize Brahman, in fact, you don't have to wait until you realize Brahman, because long way to go, isn't it? Somebody I was talking today, she was saying, I don't think it is worth it to live that long, Guruji. Because I know how much of pain is there in this body. You know, she was talking about her mother, who is ailing. She's aged, and then she sees her going through the gradual deterioration of a natural course. You know, she's lived a very healthy life. She's in her 90s, and she's saying, I don't want to live long, Guruji. And she was laughing. So why am I saying that? What is the thought connection I had, Rajima? What was I saying? No, you wouldn't have taken note of that.
I have no idea, Guruji.
Oh, why did I get into that?
I wasn't paying attention, Guruji. Sorry.
No problem. Who's following what I was saying? Setuji?
Hariom Guruji, you were talking about limitations of our experience. That connection.
Limitations of our experience. Maybe I have.
After the poem, you started with
The
limitation.
elephant and
After
slowly
the
after
poem,
that
you said
the
you talked about
limitation.
limitations of our experience. Then you
Told
took
this.
up this.
Okay. I'm just trying to connect what I was trying to get at. Maybe. So, there was something in particular I wanted to connect. Did I not say realization is long way to go? Yes, Badriji, any, you recall? Yes, Harishji?
Yeah, you essentially you started by saying realization is long way to go, and then you started giving an anecdote. You know, a lady came to you and started talking about she was saying that I don't want life to prolong. She was probably trying to say I don't want to live long enough to attain Brahman in this life. Maybe that's what she was trying to say, because her mother is already going through so much of. Maybe the understanding was that you have to attain Brahman in this life only, and you don't want to live that long. Maybe that was the thought process.
No, okay. Yes, Harishji. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. That's. I think that was a point I just took a reference to it. Harishji, anything?
No, I thought you were referring to this anecdote more to say that the human tendency to generalize that the entire reality is what we perceive it is. So she is going through pain or something, and she doesn't want this to continue. So she says that the entire life is not worth it. You should not. She generalizes. So that's a human tendency, that we claim absolute truth based on our own subjective limited experiences.
Okay.
And in fact, that is what is the basis of the 6 blind men and the elephant, the parable, because they actually came to blows at the end of it, because each said the other was dishonest based on their experience. And nobody realized, each of them didn't realize that the other person's limited reality was also limited, but also true.
They all were partly in the right, but all were in the wrong.
Yes.
That's
yes.
the actual words of the poem. You know, all were partly right, but yet all were wrong, because you can't say elephant is like any one of those. Yeah, in context of that, yes, you're right. Tinkima?
Hari Om Guruji.
Yes,
I think
Mahari.
in context of that lady complaining about, not wanting to live, and the 6 blind men, what you said is we see limited reality with our limited vision. And we take that limited reality to be the ultimate reality.
No, I don't know what the reality is.
You are the guru, you know the reality.
No, I am completely, I don't know what I was saying. No, I'm sorry. It just so, these thoughts are so volatile, you miss it. But now, what wanted to, perhaps if it comes back, I'll tell. Nothing's substantial, but there was a connect I was drawing. Now, it's come back. Now, what I was trying to say is, realize that to be Brahman. We said it is very difficult for us to realize Brahman in this lifetime, isn't it? And then I went to this conversation I had, who said that I don't want to live long because there's so much of pain and that and this, So you do mean to say only upon realization of Brahman, you will understand that that experience of Brahman is greater than all the attainment, is greater than all the bliss, is greater than all the knowledge? No. You don't have to wait until the realization, which you may justify and say, I don't think, given my current condition and state I don't think it's possible in this Janma. I'm aspiring for it. Maybe there'll be a carry forward, most likely, whenever that happens, it's a carry forward. That I know for certain. Now, you don't have to wait until you get to that experience. What you experience when you have this knowledge is you feel that you are actually couple of feet off the ground, and you feel you are actually on an elevated point. You feel you're on a vantage point from anybody out there. This is a kind of a subjective experience you have, because even in a relative sense, when you have this wisdom, you are actually on a vantage point. You know what you have is far, far greater than anybody out there who has got what he has got. In fact, there is no point of comparison. You would agree that you should not compare what you are experiencing with anybody out there. But once you have this knowledge at a relative level, you feel you're actually a few feet above everybody else. Means you're actually on a superior platform. That is what he's saying. There's nothing greater. So you feel you've got something far greater than all the wealth can attain, all the joy you can get, all the knowledge you can get out there in the worldly sense. This experience is actually far superior to that. There is no comparison. You shouldn't compare. I'm not comparing. But the experience you have is, you know that you are in a vantage point. It's an unequal comparison, please. Because the comparison is unequal, because it is differing in kind, not differing in degree. There's a difference in differing in kind and differing in degree, isn't it? So the transcendental wisdom is far superior to any terrestrial experience, whether it is attainment, bliss, or knowledge. So the transcendental is far superior to the terrestrial. That kind of an assurance you have may at times be, people may say you are getting very arrogant. If at all there is that thing of arrogance, it's not arrogance, it's an assurance. The assurance that you have got something far, far better than all what the world knows about. It can be, that assurance can be mistaken to be arrogance. And that is what he's saying. So even if you, Setuji, you're following what I'm trying to say? You're able to follow. So I'm only trying to relate it from a relative perspective, because he says, realize that to be Brahman. When you realize Brahman, he says he's trying to describe it from an absolute standpoint. But relative also, you will find that once you have this wisdom, you experience a far greater bliss than all what the terrestrial bliss can give you, isn't it? Yes, sir, please, Sidhuji.
Guruji, even at the current relative level, we are all students consistently attending not one class, 4 classes of you. We are at a vantage point compared to others who are not attending. That is what is attracting and making us be here.
Right.
So this relative level itself, we feel that is what is making us come again and again. And maybe we have not transforming into wisdom, but this knowledge itself, that we want to be in this satsang space, and we think we are the selected few, have the opportunity, fortunate enough to be in this space.
Okay. Somebody is disagreeing with you. Hariji is. Let's hear from him. Yes, Hariji. No, I know where you're coming from.
I totally disagree.
You may partially also disagree.
No,
Why
totally.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
Okay.
because just because we are attending the Vedanta class doesn't mean that we are attaining that. There are so many poor people who are actually in their actual life more Vedantic than many of the people who are attending Vedanta class. It's from my own experience.
See, I think both of you are talking from a different standpoint. I think Hariji, you are very right. There are people out there who could be far more philosophical or far more spiritual.
Yeah, it is very
than all of us put together.
Yeah, very ordinary people. Very ordinary.
So, but
Hariji, I am comparing only with those who are at our level. See, what I am saying is this relative level also, we feel we are at a vantage point. I am just talking to quote that example, not that I am speaking from with arrogance or
no, I didn't mean that at all. No.
Right.
I didn't. I have never even it has never gone into my mind that you are talking out of arrogance. No, sorry if I have conveyed that sort of a meaning. My apology.
No, I don't think you've conveyed it. But in fact, both of you are talking the same thing from a different standpoint. That's how I would want to look at it. There is no contradiction here. In fact, what Setuji is saying and what you're saying is exactly the same. In fact, you experience a kind of a blessed feeling, that you feel so blessed. In fact, the Gita itself says the fact that you're able to listen to the Gita, this birth is blessed. You are blessed to even just be if somebody is uttering the Gita and the words fall on your ears, this Janma is blessed, he says. Is it not said in the Gita? In the Shastras, it is said actually. So if you were to say, what's the population? 8 billion plus counting. And how many people in that 8 billion have spiritual inclination? 1%, 5%? Huh?
Seekers.
Seekers, spiritual seekers. And then if you go on, that percentage of people who have access to this knowledge, who have the right guru, who's able to fit into your specific spiritual requirement, you're able to attune to this wisdom and experience that, it's one in a 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 100 million. It's that rarity. So the fact that I have this opportunity itself is a blessing, and I find myself far superior in that sense. I'm blessed. In that sense, Setuji was saying, isn't it, Ji?
Guruji, actually, you cautioned all of us not to attend the Kena Upanishad, actually. You told,
Right? Okay.
particularly don't just come. It may be, I also thought whether I am qualified, even whether I will understand basics of it. But I find I'm not only able to resonate, I find it relatively the best. So I want to be in this space as much as possible, although I have to put a lot of effort, go a long way in doing sadhana. But
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to share that.
No. I wouldn't disagree with you in anything that you have said. I'm sure everybody can relate that that sentiment which you have shared. Very true, very, very true. And then there's no contradiction, as I said, to what Hariji has said. Okay. Yes, Vijayji.
Guruji, last class, I think you were talking about the 3 stages of this journey. First is being ignorant, second is being aware that you are ignorant, and third is to start transiting. I think I wouldn't know or would like to put any numbers or proportions to these 3 people in these 3 stages. But then one thing for sure, we can say that we are not in the first stage. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Right.
So to that extent, we have come forward, and I would like to believe that we are somewhere moving along with this in the second stage.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that makes it third stage or not by definition, but and if some people have an innate spiritualism in the people who are in the first stage itself, the chances are they won't be there unless they are not conscious of it, I suppose. So I think there's no contradiction at all. Some people are born with it. Perhaps they are not doing anything about it, still remaining in the first, stage sort of dormantly. And once they are aware of it, conscious of it, they automatically shift to the second stage.
Yeah. Very true. Very, very true. Very true. Very well said, Ji. Very well said. Yes. Jayama posted something to me direct. Maybe she want to share. Jayama? Solungo. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
As I really agree with Setuji and Vijay Raghavanji, we definitely know that we are progressing by the day, and how we yearn for this satsang, how we are disinterested in other mundane things, and whatever we used to enjoy, we are less and indulgent. We are growing each day, which is so obvious. So it's not out of arrogance, as you say. It's like to say that, yeah, I am superior. There's no harm in feeling that I am superior, because if I'm not so mundane, I'm not so ordinary, I am growing by the day. That gives us that, one-up feeling. Of course, the journey is very long and we have a long way to go. There's we shouldn't become complacent, but nevertheless, you know that you are a different kind. That is what gives us that feeling that you want to be here. This is the place, this is the interest that you have.
Yeah. it's a kind of a superior feeling, as you said, you know,
Yes.
but not tantamounting to arrogance, but
Arrogance.
kind of an assurance. In fact, hasn't history proven that it's always been that men of power sought men of wisdom? It has never been other way around. You never find men of wisdom going to men of power. It's a men of power, men of wealth falling at the feet of men of wisdom. It just tells you which is superior. And the Muni is sitting somewhere in his humble hut, humble abode in his kutia, in his ashram, and this man of power with his entourage goes and has a darshan of that man. A true king would never ever send a note summoning the sage to present himself to him. It is never done. You know, the king would come down from his pedestal and bow down to a guru. So that itself, history has proven. That is just a fact that you can have all your attainment and bliss and knowledge. All of it is of no use. It dwarfs compared to this wisdom, which is grand and gigantic. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma. Thank you, ma. Yes, thank you, ma.
Guruji, I had a doubt, like what Vijayji said, that some people, I think I got it this way, who are in the first stage, may be spiritual, but is it that they are ignorant of their spiritual quotient? And if they are spiritual but ignorant of it, how will that spirituality start blossoming or start manifesting? Is it a conducive environment or satsang, or suddenly some worldly experience which drives them towards it? What is it? Like all of us may know, I don't know when we are all at different chronological ages when we joined this discourse. There may be different reasons for joining. So I don't know, were we at stage 1, we were ignorant, or we knew and we said, "Theek hai, chalega, baad mein dekh lenge." So I'm not very clear about this concept that if the spirituality is there, there is a spiritual quotient. What is it that acts as a catalyst to actually manifest the desire to know more about what is the truth, what is the reality, who am I, what is this world?
I think we'll ask Vijayji to clarify.
I think Vijay Raghavan ji.
It's perhaps it's a personalized example, but I can give it. There's nothing wrong. I've seen people, my own mother, who lived a spiritual life, but she never gave it a name. You know, her innate temperament, I think Hariji was also perhaps referring to that. Innate temperament was like that, you know, and throughout her life, she went happily with total contentment and peace. But she never specifically sought any spoken or written knowledge. But then, if at all, she did possibly add it to whatever she had. That's about all. That's what I was referring.
But could you, Vijayji, could you repeat the 3 stages which you had mentioned, which Tinkima is actually taking a reference to? What are the 3 things you said?
Yeah, what you had mentioned last week, I think, Guruji, is that first, most of the people are ignorant. That's the first stage.
Okay.
And second thing is that second stage becomes where you are aware that you are ignorant now. You have to do something about it. And you have a goal and you know your weaknesses. I mean, weaknesses is my word, really. And the third thing is start doing something about it and moving it. And, you know, taking actions and then various stages, like you always mentioned, that it's just not one leap forward. I mean, it's a journey.
Okay.
I don't know whether we are in the second or early third. I think that's a matter of semantics.
But in fact, this doesn't happen. Okay, first I'll take care of the first level of ignorance, lack of information, and then I'll move to the next stage. It doesn't happen.
It's a gradual
Overlap.
So each of us are in all 3 levels at different stages of our spiritual journey. There's certain things that comes to us as a revelation. Oh my God, I did not know about it. I could be caught up in a certain self-imposed thought pattern. I could be in a certain conditioning and I don't realize that. Isn't that possible? It is
Guruji,
possible.
actually, but particularly becomes very relevant in a practical sense. The two techniques you're telling us about, the introspection as well as the two views.
Yes.
I mean, in each one of them, this is a little bit of an exercise in awareness creation and, and also trying to do the third stage in a small way in one particular trait or reaction bias. I thought.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So the wisdom starts creeping in terms of transforming your
Bits and pieces.
Yes. Yes. In your experiences, which you will certainly notice it. Absolutely. Yes. Very much. Very much.
And if I'm able to consistently behave like that, confronted with such a situation, okay, one aspect perhaps I'm slightly better.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. In fact, you can't measure your spiritual status with one experience. You've got to take a consistent assessment over a period of time or over a span of few experiences and then gauge what's your reaction. Isn't it?
Like in cricket, Guruji, I mean, you would have played 100 balls and the 101st ball will still bowl you.
Correct. Or since you talk of cricket or sport, what is called as an average?
Yes.
An average is measured by the number of runs you have scored vis-a-vis the number of innings you have played. And Don Bradman had an average of 99.96. 99.96 Don Bradman. He's called as the god of cricket. And compared to him, the best cricketer, everybody talks, Sachin Tendulkar had somewhere in his 50s after retirement. So you know what is the difference, but you can't really compare that way. The number of innings he has played and what Don Bradman would have played would have been very different, So go by the average of how your reactions to the world are. That gives you a fair idea where you are established. There could be moments of inspiration. There could be moments of stupidity also, isn't it? One stupid thing you say and you get into trouble, or one inspired moment where you are in ecstasy. Don't go by these two extremities. Go by the average of your reactions to the world. You know where you stand. So don't. What do you call? Rajima, what is that graduation ceremony? What do? You're given you wear the robe. You wear a robe and you're given
The hat.
a
The
hat,
degree.
a certificate, degree, and you are in sort of in seventh heaven. So it's not. Don't put yourself there nor punish yourself. So it's not two extremities. Okay.
Don't be too harsh on yourself
Not be too kind on yourself.
or kind of generous.
How should you treat yourself? Vedanta says you treat yourself no more or no less than a stranger. If a stranger walks at your door, there's no need for you to suspect him or no need for you to embrace him. You just are neutral and say, yes, what do you want? So you treat yourself no less and no more than a stranger. That's all you would do. So don't give yourself too much credit. Don't give yourself too much discredit. Just be as neutral, my dear. So enna tingi ma? समझ में आया?
Ji. 2 steps forward and 2 steps backwards.
No, it is not that. It's never. It's an admixture. See, as we always say, the thing is you're injecting knowledge and there is existing vasanas, which is ignorance. So there is this
Combination.
twofold combination that something comes to the forefront. Sometimes your avidya comes to the forefront. Sometimes your vidya comes to the forefront. That's all that's happening. Okay.